We've decided to move in a different direction.
This is completely unacceptable. You cannot make these decisions without consulting us.
He was a leader at the top of his game, a black CEO who had fought every obstacle to reach the boardroom. But in one shocking moment, during a meeting meant to honor his success, everything was ripped away. Fired without warning, humiliated in front of his peers, his career seemed destroyed. Yet behind the silence, he held a secret, one that would turn the tables in a way no one saw coming. What could force an entire company to crumble within hours, all because of the man they tried to silence? He hadn't come from privilege. His story was one of grit, long nights, and sacrifices nobody else had to make. From the very beginning, he had been told he didn't belong, that the boardroom was no place for someone who looked like him. And yet, through persistence and brilliance, he climbed higher and higher until he stood as the face of a company once thought untouchable. He carried himself with quiet confidence, aware that every move was scrutinized, every success questioned. He was more than qualified, but still treated as though he had something to prove. For years, he endured the whispers, the subtle dismissals, the uneasy looks across polished tables, but he never faltered. To those who admired him, he was proof that progress was possible. To those who envied him, he was a reminder that change had arrived. What no one could see was how close the storm truly was, because behind the curtain of success, resentment was growing, and soon it would break wide open. The breaking point came in a room filled with polished wood and sharp suits. It was supposed to be a meeting of vision, a celebration of growth. Instead, it became a spectacle of betrayal. The chairman's words cut like a blade, delivered with a false calm that couldn't hide its cruelty. Effective immediately, the CEO was done. Gasps filled the air, but no one stood up, no one defended him. They watched as the only black man at the table was stripped of everything he'd earned in the space of minutes. He sat in silence, the weight of humiliation pressing heavy, while the others avoided his eyes. Years of service dismissed with a single announcement. Every unspoken prejudice, every doubt he had fought to silence, it was all laid bare in that moment. But what no one realized was that silence was not surrender. Beneath the calm exterior, he was already steps ahead. The humiliation burned, yes, but he refused to let it define his ending. Behind closed doors, he had prepared for this moment. Evidence had been collected quietly over months. Memos, recordings, patterns of discrimination, financial cover-ups. Every cruel smirk, every whispered doubt, every barrier they built against him had been transformed into proof. They thought they had won by tearing him down in public. In truth, they had just handed him the stage for the greatest reveal of his life. The climax came swiftly. Hours after the public humiliation, whispers began spreading through the hallways. Legal notices were served, and the truth began to pour out. Emails, recordings, testimonies, all revealing years of discrimination, corruption, and targeted abuse. The company that had once stood as a symbol of success was suddenly teetering on collapse. Executives scrambled, panic flooding the very rooms where arrogance had once ruled. The media caught wind, and within days, the scandal was everywhere. The man they had tried to erase was now the face of their downfall. The power they thought was theirs alone crumbled beneath the weight of truth. It was not just about one firing anymore. It was about years of silence finally breaking open. The walls shook, the foundation cracked, and the empire began to fall. And in those chaotic hours, something extraordinary happened. Former employees began to speak. Those who had been ignored, overlooked, or mistreated found courage in his stand. Their stories poured into the light, painting a larger picture of a company built on exclusion and arrogance. What began as one man's fight became a chorus of voices demanding accountability. He had not only fought for himself, he had created a spark that gave others strength to rise. When the dust settled, the company was no more. What had once seemed unshakable was gone, brought down not by competition or market collapse, but the arrogance of those who believed they could strip a man of his dignity without consequence. For him, the victory was bittersweet. No amount of justice could erase the sting of humiliation, the memory of betrayal. But what he had done was greater than revenge. He had shown that silence could be powerful, that resilience could dismantle even the strongest walls. His story was not just his own. It echoed the experiences of countless others who had been silenced, dismissed, or erased because of the color of their skin. The company's fall was not simply a headline. It was a mirror held up to a society that still wrestles with the weight of its own injustice. And so, his story lingers as a reminder. How many more times will voices have to be silenced before the world truly listens? How many more will have to lose everything before we decide that dignity is not negotiable? The question remains, and it's one we cannot afford to ignore.